It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. It's the only daily boxing talk show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
Coming to you live from the Billy C Studios in Georgia, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening. Whenever you're listening, I hope you're doing all right. Today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant located on St. Simon's Island in Georgia. Check out his website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, or give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Find out why I go all the way to St. Simon's for an authentic Italian meal. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by our app. It's free. Download it now. You want to watch and listen to the show on your cell phone or anywhere else, and catch everything that we have to offer with Fight TV, well then download our app right now. Visit our website, www.billycboxing.com, and click on the download the free app banner. You can't miss it. And speaking of free, how about our next Billy C get-together? Stay tuned, because we're going to be announcing it very soon, where it's going to be. I know it's going to be taking place middle of January, and we're trying to gear it as a, after the holiday treat for yourselves. And you come on down with Sal and myself, and we will be broadcasting not one, not two, not three, but 4 classic fights that we're going to revisit. So you want to be part of that, I'm sure. We have a great time. You saw the video of the last one we did, and this one will be bigger and better. So stay tuned for that. If you're interested in getting on that list, just drop me an email, billy@talkinboxing, TALKINBOXING.com. And finally, today's show, she's being brought to you in a part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. Hey, you can get a copy of this book while you're watching or listening to the show right now. Visit BarnesandNoble.com or Amazon.com. If you want to take advantage of a deal directly from yours truly, like I've been getting, I'll tell you the truth. Remember I told you guys I ordered by mistake an extra box? Well, that box is gone, man. We've been getting a lot of people taking advantage of a special deal that I will offer to you if you're in the U.S. So just drop me an email if you're interested in giving my book away for Christmas gifts. Especially if you have more than one on your list. It fits right in a stocking. Perfect Christmas gift. And yeah, Christmas is on its way. Today's the beginning of December. Just drop me an email, billy@talkinboxing, TALKINBOXING.com. Well, coming up a little bit later on the show, Dax Kahn is going to join us. He's got a opinionated commentary he's going to talk about, so you don't want to miss that. I got some updates on Anthony Joshua and his next opponent, and who Plan B is, who Plan C is, and why the D-Man may be put off a little bit. We also are going to take a deep look into Miguel Cotto and his fight coming up Saturday night against Saddam Ali. I'll give you my prediction on that, which you already know. And finally, one of my main topics today, Bob Arum is a guy that has been in this boxing business for a long time. And in case you don't know, Bob Arum was an attorney and everything else. And he's been involved with the sport of boxing for over 50 years. And, he's one of the he's like Custer's last stand. He's one of the old timers that has links to boxing the way it was in its glory days, and obviously to today. And Bob Arum has been part of that, along with his company, Top Rank, for that whole evolution. When they asked him what his secret was, now he's going to turn 86. His fight that's taking place next weekend that he's promoting between Lomachenko and Guillermo Rigondeaux, he will have turned 86 years old by the time they do that fight next weekend. And he was doing some promotional stuff yesterday, and they basically said, "Hey, Bob, what's your secret? You know, what's your secret to longevity? Have you been at the top?" This isn't a guy that's just been involved in the sport of boxing for over 50 years. This is a guy that's been at the top of the boxing business for over 50 years. Did he say he works out 5 times a day? No. Did he say he eats right and exercises and does all the right things? No. Did he say that he takes Geritol every day? No. Did he say that he takes a vitamin and drinks gallons of coffee because coffee is good for you now? No. You know what he said what his longevity is due to? Smoking weed. The guy smokes weed. I love it. Joining me right now with his opinion is my man, Sal Rocky Senecola. And Bob Arum says the secret to his longevity is marijuana. I love it. Congratulations, Bob. What do you think about that,
Unbelievable. I can't believe it. I cannot believe it. That's a secret. I thought it was maybe laced with Geritol or something. That blows my mind.
I tell you, not only does he say that his longevity is based on it. Here's some quotes. They were saying, he was promoting, and remember, this is coming from a guy that was famous for saying, "Oh, no, I was lying yesterday, but today I'm telling you the truth." So
Right.
Keep that in perspective, right? But he says, the question is, if they gave me a VADA test, would I pass it? Right? This is what he's saying during the press conference.
Funny. I like where he's going.
He says, "I don't take performance-enhancing drugs. But I do come from Nevada. So it's legal right now, and I have a puff every now and then. I plead guilty to that. Other than that, my body's in good shape." He says, "I started using marijuana in 1966. He says, young kids shouldn't do it because your brain is still being formulated. But in 1966, I was in my 30s, and I started." He says, "I don't do it at work. I do it for recreation. It's good for you. It's good for you. Marijuana is good for you. It's damn people during the Nixon administration that put cannabis into the position where it is today. It's like in the same category as drugs like heroin and cocaine, and that's wrong. Now I think people in the states like Nevada, Colorado, Oregon, Washington, and soon to be California, people will be able to go into places and buy it legally like I do in Nevada." This is Bob Arum talking. He says, and when they asked him about one of his fighters at the time in 2012, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. had tested positive for marijuana, and at the time it was not legal in the state of Nevada, and they suspended him for 9 months. Bob Arum responded to that in his conference yesterday. He says, "I was sorry that happened, that he tested positive, but I'm not going to condemn a kid for smoking a joint a month before a fight so he could go to sleep." He says, "What the F has happened? Let's be real about it. Let's not be hypocritical about this. Cheating, performance-enhancing drugs, that's wrong. Smoking a joint before a fight? Take a poll here. What kind of percentage do you think of the people who smoked a joint in the last month? So let's be effing real." You know what, Sal? I know I'm making light of it, but let me tell you something. Bob Arum is right on. Whenever I get into these conversations about marijuana versus like alcohol, let's say, there's so many studies are finally being done, and that's one of the problems. There hadn't been studies done because there was no monies released for the studies on marijuana. And I always shut people up with one sentence. I always say, "Hey, listen, you know what? Anybody that's of age can go and have a drink, of alcohol. And, all of the things that stem from it, drinking and driving, endangering your own life, endangering the life of others, people actually being killed from alcohol poisoning or effects from it. I always say one thing, Sal. I say, hey, How many people do you know that smokes marijuana? Or let me rephrase it. How many people do you know that smoked a joint and then went home and beat up their wife? Or how many people do you know that smoked a joint and went and robbed an old lady because they needed to get her fixed? That doesn't happen. Maybe they steal a bag of Doritos or potato chips or something like that, but nothing serious, Sal. What's your thoughts, man?
Well, that does give a whole scenario of, we've been debating since the 60s and 70s how marijuana does work with society, or how it can work with society, or how it is viewed as being illegal and a gateway drug to other things. And I've heard it my whole life, and I think that it's funny to hear Bob Arum come out and say that. And it's so funny. I bumped into a lady yesterday going to a GNC health food store. I usually buy a lot of. Oh, sorry, did I plug them? I'm sorry. I usually get my monthly supply of vitamins, and she said she was starting to sell this cannabis oil or some kind of miracle drug or something like this that supposedly Michael J. Fox is taking. It's reversing his symptoms of Parkinson's, and other people are finding recuperative powers, and who knows what's out there and what derivative and what could be the residual and what could be the benefits of the whole thing with hemp and marijuana. I mean, I invest in some of that stuff because I know it's a smart move to look at some of the venues or some of the things it can be used for. But I don't know. I give Bob Arum a pass, and here's a guy. He's an innovator. He came out and built a beautiful conglomerate of a promotional outfit called Top Rank, and I give Bob all the credit. I mean, I can't say I endorse it, but hey, if he has the credibility and is promoting the marijuana, why not?
The thing, I endorse. So Sal doesn't, I do. I think, and the funny thing is you look at it this way, and don't get me wrong. As long as it's done within, the way it's supposed to, the way we're hoping, the way we're hoping it happens. Yeah. In other words, if you're of age, and like Bob Arum says, you're not doing it at work. You're not doing, you're doing it as recreation. A lot of people come home after a day at work and they have a drink. What's the difference if they smoke pot or whatever? And now there's a whole business of eating it. Edibles and all this stuff. I'm just glad that they are looking at the research aspect. Because for years and years, there have been so many misconceptions about the danger and the health risk and everything else. And to be honest with you, they haven't found anything. As a matter of fact, they find reverse situations. They've tried to connect it. When I was a kid, they used to say, oh, you smoke a joint, it's like smoking a pack of cigarettes and tar and nicotine in your lungs.
I remember that.
That's false. That's false. There's no tar and nicotine. They have tested. Now they finally have been testing for at least 25 years, which they hadn't up to that point, which is pretty sad. And they found no negative effects on in your body. As a matter of fact, there's some anti-cancer results that are showing up. So it's listen. It was interesting that he said that. And we'll move on. One other thing I'll just say that Bob Arum was such an advocate. Now, this is back when it wasn't as decriminalized as it is today. We're talking about in the 60s. He said he started in 66, 60s and 70s. Yes, there was the peace, love movement.
Woodstock.
Well, the peace and love movement, people were smoking, obviously, but you could go to jail for being in possession of a joint. Today, most states, you can have up to an ounce and you'll get it like a ticket. But Bob Arum, not only is he a boxing promoter, he's a movie star because he appeared in the movie The Marijuana Affair, and that took place in 1975. So punch that up.
I must have missed that one.
Yeah, I never saw it myself. But and it's funny. If you ever look at the, just so you know, what happened with, first of all, we're totally off my topics today, but marijuana used to be legal in the States, and so was drugs like cocaine and heroin. You used to be able to go to a pharmacy and buy the stuff. It wasn't until the opium wars happened when they classified it as a drug. And then, like Bob Arum says, during the 60s and 70s, they pointed the finger at marijuana as being just as bad and addictive as heroin and cocaine. But there was a movie that was put out in the 30s, right around a little after, obviously after the Opium Wars, but it was called Reefer Madness. And if you've ever seen it, it's such a joke. They have this guy. He smokes weed, and all of a sudden he's like he's like a Jekyll and Hyde, and obviously we know that that's not what happens. All right, but like I said, you may rush to the refrigerator and grab something to eat, but that's about it. Anyway, let's move on. There's been updates with my man AJ Anthony Joshua. I got some quotes, Sal, not only from him but from his promoter Eddie Hearn. Anthony Joshua says, and this is Anthony Joshua says basically he wants to fight all the guys that they want him to. He wants to fight Wilder. He wants to fight Parker. He wants to fight Tyson Fury. He says, according to him, that the negotiations are ongoing, which I'll get to that in a second. He says Fury is a fight I would like to see, but the ball's in his court. He has to get in shape first. When he's ready, we'll open the doors. And if he walks through it, we'll welcome him. That's a very smart statement because, you know what, for Anthony Joshua to step in the ring right now with Tyson Fury would make him look stupid. And like you and I have talked about, Sal, on this show, Tyson Fury has to, he's not going to be, at least I hope, that he doesn't, somehow straighten out his mess with his boxing license with the BBBC and all of a sudden expect to hop in the ring and fight Anthony Joshua. We have to see him fight in a preliminary fight or two. Don't you agree?
I agree with you 100%. No way should he deserve that opportunity or chance to get in the ring with a reigning world champion with his first comeback fight as it is. And no way. And he needs definitely one or at least two. He needs a couple 10-round fights and work his way back up in the deserved rankings, and then he'll work his way in. So if he could do that, the first thing is get back in shape. Get your professional boxing license issued and pass all the things they want you to do. And then, start fighting. Let your fist do the talking. Get into the ring. And that's it.
He also said, as far as the situation with Joseph Parker, we've presented an offer to them, and we're waiting patiently. Nothing's been agreed. We have talked about some of the response from the Parker camp, obviously demanding more. He says, as far as Wilder, who says I'm running scared, it's the same situation. We've been talking to him and his team. He says, listen, we staged a fight with one of the all-time greats in Vladimir Klitschko and staged a fantastic fight at Wembley Stadium where we all put our egos and demands to one side. But I just don't know where Parker and Wilder's mindsets are and what they're demanding. I just think they have poor management. It boils back to what we've said, Sal. Realistic, and I've said this many, many times. We always hear, how the old saying, there's three sides to the story. There's side A, there's side B, and then there's the truth, right? Well, what bothers me in the sport of boxing, and we do hear it a lot, and I'm not going to single out anyone because we hear it from everybody in boxing. I say I want to fight Sal Rocky Senecola. Sal says, oh, I want to fight Billy C. So I say, okay, Sal, you're going to fight me. We're going to offer you 35 cents. And then you say, I'm not taking 35 cents. I want, $100 or whatever, right? And then I say, Sal's ducking me, right? And then people say, oh, Sal's ducking Billy C. No, wait. What's the rest of the story? The rest of the story is he's not ducking him. He just wants to be paid a little more. As long as that is talked about, and I have no problem listening to Deontay Wilder say, I feel I'm worth X, Y, Z. They offered me ABC. I want X, Y, Z. Rather than what he says. He says he's running from me. He's scared. He knows I'm the best. He knows that I'm going to knock him out. He knows that I have one-punch power. They're leaving out the other part. What's your thoughts?
Well, it's a whole thing. It's like we used to hear, and now the rest of the story. And that's the whole thing. You got to disclose and say, hey, we're in negotiations. Right now, I'm not happy with the figure I'm being offered, and I think we could deserve more, and I'm working on it. You don't just say, they're ducking me. Because you know what? These guys are looking at a gift horse in the mouth. If they really want to fight Anthony Joshua, they would humble themselves, put their tail between their legs, saying, hey, I'm going to make the most money I've ever made in my entire life. I'm going over to Wembley Stadium, and I'm going to fight one of the champions of the world in his backyard, and I'm going to dethrone him. I'm going to make him look like he never, make him wish he never took this fight. You got to go in there with a badass attitude. You're there, and guess what? The rematch clause is going to be on your terms if you win. So, these guys should do that. Wake up and take a little bit of a humble pie and show the world what you could do on a world stage, and then have a rematch clause. I can't understand it. First of all, they're going to be offered something very reasonable, very fair. It's just not maybe with their promoters, managers, and what they may want to. But the bottom line is they're looking at a gift horse in the mouth right now.
So, in a fight, now I don't know about Joseph Parker, and probably this could be said.
Joseph who? Who?
Well, it could probably be said for that too. But as far as AJ against Wilder, listen, that fight, I don't see why it wouldn't be a 2-fight deal right from the get-go. Right from the get-go.
Gotta be.
And you put a home and away type deal. In other words, what that means is you fight one in Wembley or wherever in England, and the other one comes back to the States. You could even put a pay structure in there. You accept the first fight you're paying, and AJ's in the driver's seat. Let's be real. So AJ says, okay, Deontay, or AJ's team says, okay, Wilder, this is what you make in the first one. We'll definitely have a second one. You're guaranteed to make X, Y, Z in the second one. We'll have it in the States. Now, if you win the first one, now you make X, Y, Z for the second one. Give them incentive. Make it,
exactly.
And it's a 2-fight deal, win, lose, or draw. Even if AJ knocked out Deontay Wilder in 30 seconds, Deontay Wilder could say, hey, I got caught. I deserve another fight. And maybe better yet, if the fight went on and was an exciting fight like the Klitschko-AJ fight was, damn, would be treated to another one. Hold that thought. I got some more quotes. We got to take a break. I've gotten in trouble about breaks, so we got to take them on time. I'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money. It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
This is important news for women using birth control medications and devices. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with a pseudotumor after using one of these birth control drugs or devices, you may be eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Contact the law firm of Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one have used one of these birth control medications or devices and were diagnosed with a pseudotumor to see if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by. This is important news for people who had a hip replacement and then had to have additional surgery as the result of a faulty hip implant, or were diagnosed with high levels of metal in the blood, known as metallosis. You may have a right to a cash award and medical expenses. If you have been diagnosed with high levels of metal in your blood or have required more surgery because of hip implant failure, call the law offices of Davis & Crump right now. Our first consultation is free and we don't get paid unless you get paid. Call now. Operators are standing by.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you!
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be here. Hey, listen, I know we simulcast on Facebook every day, and I just want to appreciate. I just want to thank and let everybody know that watches us on Facebook. I appreciate the support. Keep in mind that that's not the full version, but we promise some of our updates that we will be having for 2018. We're adding a few new segments, which we'll keep you posted on. I got some news for you about my next book. We got some changes that are going to be made on the Facebook broadcast. So a lot of good stuff. We always, listen, we're in our 14th year, and we improve every single year. I got some more quotes concerning AJ, Sal. You ready for this?
I'm ready for this.
Are you ready for this?
I'm ready for this.
But now Eddie Hearn is the promoter. He also owns, Matchmaker, Matchroom Sports. I always say Matchmaker, but it's Matchroom. He says, basically, he says that the WBO heavyweight champ, who's Joseph Parker, is the front runner to fight Anthony Joshua. He says, but if that doesn't happen, he says that heavyweight contenders Dillian White and baby Jarrell Miller are the guys that may fight him. I hope. Listen, Dillian White, they already fought. Yes. And although Dillian White has earned a shot with his fights, like Jarrell Miller, he is no. This guy, I don't understand. And it's one of my big pet peeves in the sport of boxing. In boxing, if you shoot your mouth off, except for me, it doesn't work for me. But in boxing, if they shoot their mouth off, they get themselves a fight. Jarrell Baby Miller's a fraud. He never fought anybody. Come on. Who's the guy fought? He's a big fat pig. He says nobody can do anything that I can do in the ring. What? Waddle around like a fat piece of shit? Come on. Come on. Jarrell Miller's a piece of shit. Really. I mean, the guy can't fight. He didn't show me anything against the stationary targets. I don't know. It's a joke. I mean, don't you think so, Sal?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he has really the credibility where he should be given that opportunity right now. And if he fights some good contenders and he can beat these guys on an even playing field, let him work his way up. Let him do this. But because they think he's a top contender now, or he's in a position, I want to see the rankings. I want to see who else is available ahead of him.
Well, the thing is they maneuver him and move him up too quick.
I know.
I mean, that's a joke. Who's he fought, Sal?
That's just it. There is no real top pedigree that he's beaten, and that he really warrants a title shot. I think he's got a little ways to go yet.
There's no one on his resume that warrants him to be in the top 10, for God's sakes. Really? I mean...
Yes, there is.
Who?
That guy, Money Change Greenbucks.
Yeah, exactly. Money Change Greenbucks. You got it. Eddie Hearn said this, and I quote, he said, there are two perfect fights for AJ. Joseph Parker and Deontay Wilder.
Bingo.
Now we all agree. This is what I like about this guy. Listen, you have said this many times about Chicky Ferrara saying, "Hey, listen, we're all bad. You know, we use the fighters, everything else." And it's probably one of the most truthful statements somebody could tell one of their fighters. Okay,
fighters a commodity.
And the truth of the matter is promoters are in business to make money. That's what made me laugh my ass off when all the idiots thought that Al Heyman was doing what he was doing to save boxing. Yeah, right. Al Heyman was doing it to save his bank account. He kept punching money, get doing all this stuff. He did not do anything to save boxing. He did it for Al Heyman. But that's just goes to show you the stupidity of a lot of the fans. But the truth of the matter is that Eddie Hearn is in this for the money. But he seems to be doing the right things, taking the right steps. He says the two perfect fights for AJ, Joseph Parker, Deontay Wilder. The Wilder fight has become kind of unrealistic because of their demands, what they want. The Parker fight is a lot closer. We may have to look at WBA mandatory Dillian White, or we may go to the States and fight Jarrell Miller. These are options, but the aim is to become the undisputed world heavyweight champion. Parker's the front runner. He's the guy we want, but we can't be in a position where this goes on for 3 weeks, then falls through. What I like about this is that they seem to have a timetable set, Sal, and that's great for us as boxing fans because they want AJ to fight. If they're not going to pussyfoot around, they're not going to play stupid games with Parker and Deontay Wilder. They say, look, this is the offer. We're the A side. We're the guy that people want to see. You don't sign the paper, then go fight your bums of the month like you keep fighting, and we'll do plan B. I love it. And I think that they're doing the smart thing, and I personally would hope that Team Wilder and Team Parker will, wake up and realize that both of them have been offered lucrative deals way beyond anything they've made thus far. Sal, your thoughts, please.
Well, you're 100% right. I mean, Bill, these guys, they could leverage this deal. It's not all or nothing. It's not winner take all. This is a very lucrative business proposition for them. And maybe because Anthony Joshua is getting more of the pie, it should be just a matter of, hey, we'll do a rematch clause if you should win or something else. And the bottom line is, these guys would fight for the biggest purse of their career. And you know what? If they had to, they could probably retire from it. I mean, look at Klitschko. He was probably smart with his money anyway, and he has more opportunities to do whatever he wants to do, and that's one of the reasons why he retired. But if the deal was not as lucrative, he would have exercised that rematch clause and wanted a little more money for the next one. But the bottom line is these guys should be, like I said, eat a little diet of humble pie and say, look, this is the big picture. This is what's going to really happen, and this is going to be a 2-fight deal. I'm going to look respectable. I might even beat him. I'm going to do what I can do to beat him. I'll be in his backyard. Prisoners take no prisoners, and that's my mindset, my mentality. I'm going in there to win. And boom, they're going to put on a good performance. They're going to have a rematch clause. And you know what? They might get lucky with a shot. Who the hell knows? But the bottom line is, yes, they want to make these fights. Don't whine, bitch, and moan and tell them that, oh, well, he's ducking me. He's ducking me. No, he's not ducking you. Just get to the negotiation tables and make sure you look at what the P's and Q's and T's and I's are all about. And look at the big picture, boys, not just what's right in front of you.
Well, sometimes they have the guys whisper in their ear the wrong shit. I mean, that's the truth. Don't take that. You're worth way more than that. You the man. You the man.
You know why? Because they see their own linings of their pocket. They look at the percentage. They look at the 33 and the third. They look at the 10% off the top. They look at this and they look at that.
Exactly. Thank you. Because that's the truth.
Thank you. It's these other guys.
That's right. Listen, Deontay Wilder hasn't made $2 million yet. He was offered 7 plus the U.S. TV rights. Come on. You're not going to get more than that.
$7 million. We're not talking about 700.
It's unbelievable. And as far as Parker is concerned, if AJ can generate $20 million for himself, Parker does not deserve 35% or even 40. He doesn't deserve 40, doesn't deserve 35, doesn't deserve a percentage. No one even knows who. Quite honestly, he could fight, Dillian White and have just as big of interest is he fights Joseph Parker. The only thing that even makes the Joseph Parker fight part of a discussion is he happens to have a strap. That's it. And thank God Anthony Joshua and his promoter, Eddie Hearn, want to collect those belts. So
absolutely.
Anyway.
And Anthony Joshua's in the driver's seat. These guys should be knocking on the passenger window saying, excuse me, may I sit next to you? let's take this ride down the road and we'll both be happy.
Exactly. But anyway, hey, I just want to, before we take a break here, and you know, we got some news coming up, and Dax Kahn is scheduled to join us here in about 15 minutes or so with his opinionated commentary on a subject that is a serious one.
Okay. I look forward to it.
I wanted to report that it was released today that on Wednesday, it was reported that Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s Beverly Hills home. Now, this was the one, if I recall correctly, because I really try not to give a rat's ass about Floyd Mayweather, but if I recall correctly, this was the house he just recently bought in Beverly Hills. I think it might have been the last one he bought. Anyway, according to police, the Beverly Hills police, his house was robbed. Yes, it was robbed, and Mayweather wasn't home at the time. And according to the police, they said that some luggage, some sunglasses, and other things were taken from the house. They did not, announce exactly what was taken, and they didn't announce what the value of. My quick comment here, Sal, and I got less than a minute, is, what do you expect when you're flaunting stuff around? You got all these people that think it's it's an easy hit, and the only thing I wonder is, how did they know Floyd wasn't home? You smell an inside job here like I do?
You know what? Phil, you're funny. It must be, Italians, we really don't trust anybody. And the bottom line is that you're telling the story, all I can think about, oh, man, what an inside job. This is a layup.
Right. Who knows he's not home? Only the people around him. Nobody else knows where Floyd is. You know what I mean? I mean, come on. Anyway, listen,
he's out for a jog.
I know. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, get you caught up on some emails. I got some sports scores. We got Dax Kahn coming up. Don't go nowhere. We got a lot more to come. So we'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money. It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
If you or a loved one have had hernia repair surgery with mesh reinforcement and suffered infection, chronic pain, mesh migration, mesh failure, organ damage, or needed additional surgery, call the Rely On Group right now. You may be eligible to receive a cash award and compensation for your medical expenses. Your voice deserves to be heard. Call the Rely On Group to be connected with a personal injury attorney for a free consultation. Call 800-715-4869. That's 800-715-4869.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you!
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And I'm here with my man, Sal Rocky Senicola. And Sal, last night we had Thursday night football. You know, I thought this game was going to be a lot better than it was, especially since I lost my bet on this game. But the Cowboys snapped their losing streak and beat the Redskins 38-14 without Elliott behind the quarterback. So congratulations to the Cowboys, 38-14 over the Redskins. Over in the NBA, the Cavaliers beat the Hawks 121-114. This is following the very first time that King James, I should say, was thrown out of a game. Yeah, he was thrown out of their last game. So amazing about that. Celtics beat the 76ers 108-97. The Nuggets over the Bulls 111-110. The Bucks beat the Trailblazers 103-91. And that would be LeBron James. In case anybody doesn't know who I was talking about with King James, I know this is a boxing show. I'm talking about LeBron, all right? I should have just said LeBron. But anyway.
Or Jesse.
No, different James. Bucks beat the Trailblazers 103-91. Jazz over the Clippers 120. They beat them a little more than just clipping the Clippers. I got clipped in my hair, but what was left of it. Jazz beat the Clippers 126-107. In the hockey, the Kings beat the Capitals 5-2. The Canadians beat the Red Wings 6-3. I know you love when I do the hockey scores, and it's coming.
I'm starting to smile.
It's coming. It's coming.
The puck stops here.
The Canucks beat the Predators 5-3. The Wild over
the coming from Predators. Is that?
Yeah, the Wild beat the Golden Knights 4-2. The Stars beat the Blackhawks 4-3 in overtime. The Maple Leafs beat the Oilers 6-4. And Sal, guess what?
What?
Those Flames, they beat the pants off of the Coyotes 3-0. So I wanted to let you get caught up on that because I know that's your team. But in any event, I got an email. This one's from my man Jesse. And no, not Jesse James, Jesse Perez. And Jesse says, "Hey, Billy C and Sal, I got Cotto stopping Ali in 10. Ray Vargas winning a unanimous decision over Oscar Negrete. Should be a good fight. Ronnie Rios over Busa." And he says, Cotto basically will have too much experience and power for Ali. I'll give you my predictions in a little while, but those are good ones. Jess, he says, Gamboa moves good, but does not counterpunch with his defense. I mean, he eludes punches, but then he moves around without throwing punches. He needs to throw combos and counter off his defense consistently. The problem with Gamboa is he really doesn't have defense. He never moves his head, and his defense is his offense. His movement is him trying to, I think it's more of a timing mechanism, and his movement, he used to just come in for the attack. But now he's trying to be more, cautious because he's hit the canvas so many times that they have him moving and trying to box a little more. I think it's a clear case when you look at Yuriorkis Gamboa, Sal. I think it's a clear case of him being an old dog that you just can't teach new tricks. And I say old dog not because he's 35, but he had almost 400 amateur fights in his amateur career before, swimming over here in a coconut raft and then starting his professional fights. And he's also being forced to fight bigger guys. I mean, yes, his career is most likely over at this point. But, I mean, it's hard to all of a sudden try and teach a guy defense when he's that far along, isn't it?
Well, you could teach a guy how to slip a punch. You could teach a guy a little bit of a counter punch. And you know what? If he wants to learn, I believe you could teach an old dog some new tricks. And, it's how bad do they want it. And it's understanding the value of what you're trying to show and teach them. And, it doesn't take much. Instead of boxing and blocking with your chin, just slip a punch, counter here, do this. It just takes... It takes execution. It takes delivery. It takes performance. It takes proficiency. And you do what's not natural until it becomes natural. And he can learn. And the bottom line is, will it change his style and make him a completely different fighter? I don't think so. I mean, because part of his performance of being aggressive and being his best offense or defense is his offense. But no, just learn a few things of slipping and countering and being in a position to deliver a punch when you're moving out and sliding and slipping a punch. That's all. He can learn that.
I think he can, and I think he can. No, I think he can, and I think that what they should listen. He's with a guy now. That I think if he's got any shot at least having a couple of successful fights, and I'm not talking about getting back to where he was because that's not happening, but if he wants to have a couple of successful fights, I think he's with the right guy. I think they're on the same wavelength. And if I'm him, all I'm trying to do with Gamboa at this point is get him to move his head. Get, like you're saying, slip a little punches with head movement. Get in there. Make sure he attacks because he's still got some hand speed that's, pretty impressive even at 35. Use it to his advantage. Go in attack mode. Move his head as he's coming in, and maybe he gets it done. But anyway, his next comment is, "Hey Billy, I heard in an interview that Dana White is going to give it a try as a boxing promotion." With UFC. Boxing is different than UFC, but anyway, maybe he meant the company. He said that he will do much better than all the other boxing promotions. Billy, a big company like UFC, should they try or really make sure what they are doing? Basically he's asking me, should they try this or should they really make sure they know what they're doing? Well, I would think they should really make sure that they know what they're doing. I mean, that goes without saying, but here's the thing. What makes the UFC so successful and so powerful is that it was a league that was formed, similar to the NFL, NHL, NBA, etc., Major League Baseball. A league, when you become part of a league, you now have to conform to league policy. Yes, they have players' unions that are in between, so you have a liaison, etc., but it helps the teams and the owners of those teams, and as long as there's a players union, it helps them. Now, as far as boxing's concerned, if it would have been a league like when UFC started, they built the UFC and, for all intent purposes, the sport of MMA. Boxing has already been around. In order for it to be successful as a league, and that's not what Dana White is going to do, but if it could be successful as a league, which would be great, you'd have to get a pool of fighters that were willing to fight under that league's banner and build it from there. Is it possible? Yes. And you could eliminate all of the cash, the clause in the cash cows, etc., etc. I would love it. The problem is we don't have enough. The pool of the fighters isn't big enough. There's not enough fighters to go around. So you got this greed factor. So if we form the Billy C. and Sal Rocky Senacola boxing league and we get a bunch of good fighters to perform, all it takes is a golden boy or a top rank to call one of our fighters and say, hey, listen, you're making $100,000 to fight Vinny Gumbats next week. We'll give you $5 million to fight our guy. And next thing you know, he's leaving our league fighting for the money. That's the problem. Now, as far as the UFC promoting boxing, they're just doing it as a promotion. They're not trying to make it as a league. If they do, more power to them. But what we need is promoters. We need more promoters like Eddie Hearn. Sal, what Eddie Hearn is doing, I think, is great for boxing. And you watch. He's going to do well over here in the States, because the problem with the promoters here in the States is that they're lazy and they're too greedy. We all know that they got to make money, but let's not be too greedy, right?
No, I mean, Bill, it's so funny. I regret I only have one life to live. And because you know what? I would have loved to do several things with boxing. I would have loved to have been a manager. I would have loved to be a trainer and get a guy a title fight. And I would love to be a promoter. And too bad. You and I should form that league and see if we have any takers.
Listen, I'm sick of talking to you about stuff. You never pulled the trigger. We had all those things. We had all that stuff.
We did have it all played. But you know what the bottom line is? I still want to fight. That's the whole damn thing.
Well, that's the problem. That's the problem.
That's it.
Because you can't. You can, but you're not. It doesn't make sense. But anyway, one final thing. He says, Billy, I read that Demetrius Andrade rejected to fight Deverenchenko because they found 4 weeks before the scheduled date not enough time to prepare. But his promotions thinks it could have been salvaged for the first quarter of 2018. Should they have taken that late notice fight? 4 weeks, that's a month, right? The problem with Demetrius Andrade is that he doesn't fight enough. That's one problem. And the reason is the other problem, that he's got two promoters that both have their claws in him, and neither one of them want to invest any money. They just want to collect in Banner and Star Boxing. And that's the truth, all right? I mean, Joe DeGuardia, I love Joe DeGuardia, but I look up to him in a way because Joe DeGuardia is a smart guy. But you sign with him. Don't think that he's going to be doing much for you except feed you a couple of tomato cans, and then you'll get a shot, and that's been his MO. But here's the thing. If a fighter stays in shape, 4 weeks is plenty of time. What bothers me is when these fighters say 4 weeks isn't enough, 8 weeks isn't enough. Well, that's telling me that they're not if they're not in decent physical shape, so that they need to take X amount of time to get in shape. In other words, spend an X amount of time conditioning for their camp. This is what made Floyd Mayweather so successful, because he basically stayed in shape. So when he finally signed to fight somebody, his camp was dedicated to focusing on the fight, a game plan, etc., etc. So what that tells me is Demetrius Andrade either was being guided in the wrong way, or he wasn't in shape. 4 weeks seems like enough time if you're in somewhat decent shape to prepare for a fight. Hey, listen, I was talking earlier in the show that Dax Kahn was going to join us with a opinionated commentary. And he's got a pretty serious topic he wants to talk about. And Dax Kahn is with us right now. Good morning, Dax.
Good morning. How's everybody today?
Oh,
good morning, Dax.
Not too bad.
Good morning.
I know you got a serious topic you want to discuss, so let it roll, brother. Let it roll, brother.
Brother. On November 18th, in El Salvador, two undefeated welterweights, Ricardo Cortez and Francisco Ruiz, they got the biggest opportunity of their career to fight on the undercard of a female WBA title fight. Down in South America, Central America, Bill, as you know, female boxing is big, and it's not like the United States. Down there in those smaller countries, you really don't get much bigger than that. Especially when you're a 27-year-old 4-0 fighter and a 24-year-old 3-0 fighter, to have such an opportunity and possibly be seen by mainstream press and get an opportunity to be shuttled off and fight someplace in the United States or maybe even Mexico, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. And of course, these two young men went out there and they did their best. And unfortunately, that night, tragedy for Francisco Ruiz, who was knocked out in the 8th round, and he died on November 23rd. That happens in boxing. That's not a shock. It's not a surprise. It's a dangerous sport. We see things like that happen, whether or not it's a permanent injury or, God forbid, death. It happens. That's part of the sport. But there was a public comment from WBC President Mauricio Suleiman, which, kind of it weighed in my mind heavy. And that comment was, Francisco Ruiz has died in El Salvador. Shameless to those who sanction such an event. His blood will forever be on their hands. And then when you sit there and you think, those are strong words, because it wasn't a condolence. Those were words of chastising, words of disgust from him. And when I look deeper into their careers, the commission and the promoters of that contest, Alberto Charms of Famous KO Promotions and the Salvador Sanctioning Commission, what goes on down there, it's shameful. There's almost no words to describe the state of boxing down there. And it's actually so shocking that, these two fighters haven't been involved in an injury earlier, or more fighters down there don't die on a regular basis.
That we know of.
Yeah, that's a good point too, Sal. That we know of. Just
What'd you find? What dig? Would you dig up? I'm sorry. I'm anxious to hear.
The one fighter, Ricardo Diamante Cortez, he was 4-0 with 2 knockouts. He made his debut in October of 2010 at the Central Convention Center in El Salvador. He won his pro debut, a TKO over Alexis Aguirre, who was also making his pro debut. But Alexis Aguirre is 43 years old, out of shape, a day worker. He never trained a day in his life, and he goes in there and makes his pro debut against, a 26-year-old fighter. And then, on December 16th, just 2 months later, he goes in there and he fights Omar Machinados, who's also making his pro debut. Okay, great. We have 2 pro debut fighters facing one another, except Osmar Montesados in 2009 fought for a World Kickboxing Championship, and he also had over 50 Muay Thai fights under his belt.
Oh, wow.
Now, we know they're 2 different sports. MMA is not boxing. Muay Thai is not boxing. Kickboxing is not boxing. But also, Montesados had just fought 2 months before that in a cage for a small promotion company. This was a seasoned, full combat fighter going in against a guy who only had 1 fight against a 43-year-old pro debuter. In April 24th and July 15th of 2017, again, by the same promoter, Albert Charms, and sanctioned by the same commission, he fought the same guy twice for 2 different titles in 2 different weight divisions. On April 6th, he gets a majority draw for the Salvadorian middleweight title against Omar Aguilar, and then in July, he fights for the super welterweight title. Never at all were the official weights ever disclosed by the commission or by the promoter.
Wow.
And then on September 23rd, he fights for the Salvadorian welterweight title. Again, the promoter does not disclose the weights, and neither does the commission. In the 2 prior fights to the one of September 23rd, when he faced Christian Correas for the welterweight title, Correas' 2 prior bouts were at middleweight and super middleweight within the last 3 months.
Wow.
It's mind-boggling that they get away with that. But you make the important point here is that it's their baseball. They get to pitch. That organization is run by that. It's a different country, and that's the point I think that you need to convey, make sure people understand. I know that's what you mean, but people have to understand that, here in the States, we have the commissions and the better, obviously we have some bad ones, but the majority of them are on the up and up. They do look out for the safety. We know over in Europe, most of the commissions there are looking out for the fighters. But there are a lot of other places, like you are pointing out now, that are not so much. It's more corrupt. It's more like what we tried to correct with federal IDs here in the state. I mean, isn't that the point?
And it gets worse than that. Francisco Ruiz, the fighter who passed away in that fight, he made his pro debut in April 17th of this year. He faced Julio Martinez, who was a bantamweight. Again, The commission and the promoter, Alberto Chams, never revealed the official weights of Martinez. Here is one fact, though. Julio Martinez, 5 months earlier, lost a one-sided unanimous decision to a 117-pound fighter, Jose Aniudo. Aniudo came in at 117 pounds. The commission allowed Martinez officially to come in at 128 pounds. Just think what the weight differential was the night of the fight.
Wow.
I mean, you know what and they're not disclosing the weights. Is that the issue here?
For that, they disclosed the weights. You know, I've done research. There's a few. I'll talk about one in a second where a local newspaper and some local reporters, you know, happened to disclose weights that the commission and the promoter did not want to get out. You know, for example, in the second fight for Francisco Ruiz, July 15th of this year, he fought Marcos Mancina, who's officially listed as a super lightweight. Again, the commission and the promoter did not disclose the weights, but according to a local newspaper, in an article I found, Marcos Mancina weighed the super lightweight limit of 140 pounds. But 2 months later, Mancina faced Antonio Galliano, and he was stopped in the second round. Antonio Galliano has never fought above 119 pounds in his career.
Jeez. Wow.
Well, you know, I mean, there's no. See, the problem we have with this type of stuff is that we or anybody doesn't have a control over that commission, and it becomes a moral issue, don't you think? And maybe fighters should just not fight there. I mean, what's the solution? What are you suggesting?
It's, you know, there is no real solution. You know, there really isn't, you know, a solution. You know, in his last fight prior to this, Francisco Ruiz, you know, he had fought Manuel Rivera. He won a 4-round unanimous decision. Rivera spent his whole career fighting at middleweight and above. Matter of fact, they fought on the same card at the Central Convention Center. And, you know, again, Famoso Promotions and the Salvadorian Commission does not disclose these weights, and these weights are accidentally disclosed by people that view or by people that take video at there, or by promoters, or I should say media members in the area. There is no solution to that, but, you know, there's something that what people need to understand is, you know, what these guys put on the line. You know, we speak about all the time, and, you know, they've written books and they make movies like Rocky about these guys who have nothing else, no other way to make a living, but they have these dreams. You know, these young fighters, you know, they had a dream that, you know, hey, maybe one day that, you know, I'll be able to be, you know, the next Gennaro Hernandez, you know, maybe one day the next Carlos Hernandez. Maybe if I'm lucky on the undercard of here, it doesn't matter who my opponent is. I don't know nothing about him. I don't have access to him. My team doesn't. But you know what? If I do well on this card, I could possibly be taken. I can get a fight someplace else, and this can change my family's way. But you have people who, you know, forget his businessman, forget his authority figures, you know, people like the Salvadorian Commission, you know, and people like Alberto Chams, who, you know, they're disgraceful that they're willing to do this to these young men. You know, even as you stated, Bill, in the worst of commissions or the best of commissions in this country or in the UK, you know, we have stuff that is set in place. You know, when Francisco Ruiz was knocked out in the 8th round, they left him lay there for 15 minutes on that mat, and they stared at him. They left him lay there. And then when they took him out of that ring, they didn't bring him out on a stretcher. They didn't bring him out on a gurney. The referee drug him. He was unconscious. The referee had his arm around him and drug him. And, you know, and this is how they operate down there, you know. So we talk, you know, Chocolatito, you know, with that knockout. But then, you know, people say, but he had so many fights. You know, Chocolatito, early on in his career, he was subject to a lot of situations like these where, you know, he fought guys, you know, 2, 3, and 4 divisions bigger and lower than he did. You know, what these guys do in these other countries, you know, it's we haven't seen stuff like this, you know, in over 100 years, 150 years. And, you know, these people who are in charge and they run this, they literally do this for pennies, because some of these fighters, they're only paid, you know, in the American equivalent. There's been fighters down there that I know have been paid $1.
Yeah, that sucks, man.
Wow.
It sucks. I wish that there was something that could be done, but it is still like the rootin' tootin' West. So, you know, for all intent purposes, you know, it's their baseball. They get to pitch. I mean, you know, we're running out of time here. What do you propose? I mean, what do you think people should do aside from just build awareness to this? I mean, really, there's nothing you can do, right?
Site build awareness, this is where the sport as a whole needs to step up. Boxing is an independent contracted sport, as we know. Every fighter, until they even when they're with a promoter or a manager, that they have, they pretty much, they work for themselves and they have to follow that contract. But something, if these whether or not it's the sanctioning bodies or bigger promotion companies, they actually go down there and they take out this talent, these young fighters that that are fighting for for their dream, to want to do what their idols have done in that country. Go down there, get these guys and get this new talent, and that's how you build the sport and you make the sport better. But instead, what we do is we sit here and we all, including you, me, Sal, we talk about and we complain about the same old recycle fighters that we've seen all the time. This is something that has to be done collectively as a group. And as far as awareness, I think every media member, a fan should speak out with social media. Everybody, just speak out against this, to the commissions. Do whatever you can, or if anything, just don't support what goes on there. If you don't support it, nobody can make money, and nobody's making money. You know what? Nobody's going to be able to put themselves into that situation and a risk. That's the best you can do. But awareness is the most important thing, and a little bit of appreciation for what these fighters on all levels. I say it all the time, whether you're the journeyman or you're the elite world champion on all levels, what you sacrifice and what they go through for our entertainment.
One thing I want to mention real quick, Dax, just to add to this, is that a lot of times we talk about the lack of boxing knowledge from the powers that be that approve matchups and stuff like that, and we see a guy that comes from some place you never heard of or you're not familiar with, and he's got this stellar record, 28-0 or something like that. These are those guys. These are those guys that you're talking about. These are and I'm not saying all of them, but these could potentially be those guys that they come out of nowhere. They're basically, being put in fights, as you suggest, that are, not safe for the other guy, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe they should start to educate themselves and look into where these records were built from and who they fought, et cetera, et cetera. If you eliminate promoters from the U.S., if we just look at the U.S., from using these kinds of guys, knowing that somebody else may have suffered because of it, maybe that's a start, Dax. Maybe we should look at it from that point of view.
Absolutely. Giancarlo De Luca, who works over in Europe with the several of the commissions over there, he has put out a lot of these guys. What they do is they base their whole knowledge and their records and their matchmaking off of BoxRec. And we also know that on BoxRec, those records aren't always accurate, and a lot of those just have to do with whoever has an account, what they upload inside there, and a lot of things are mismatches. So we need some sort of a recognized and a better system to make these matches. And as far as these young fighters in these countries being able to educate themselves, these are people that they can barely pay their rent. They have no education. They don't have clothes. They don't have the basic necessity things that people with a minimum wage job here in this country take advantage of, let alone being able to surround themselves with somebody who has the opportunity to go and scout and inform and look into their opponents. A lot of times what happens is these are guys that they just went to work with that day.
Dax, we got to take a break, but let's talk more about this. And maybe we can approach it in a way where we take a look at some of these guys that are appearing on cards here in the States or possibly in Europe, and try to build awareness from that angle. What do you think?
Absolutely.
All right, my man. Thanks for coming on. Sal, don't go anywhere. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, Miguel Cotto is fighting in his last fight, according to Miguel Cotto. We'll talk about that in about 2.
Billy C will be right back. Part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
Tell me, Kenny, how is it you rub my belly so fine with that secret rub of yours? And don't even tell me what you're gonna do next. I love you, Kenny Bear. Tell me, Kenny baby, what you gonna do next?
Kenny Bear's Old Florida Barbecue Rub and Seasoning. Grab a bottle today.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks, like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
Stop! Living with hair loss, that is. Losing your hair is no fun, and no one wants to be bald, but there is hope.
Getting my hair back was the best thing that ever happened to me.
I'm happy with the way I look now.
I'm very excited about my hair.
I feel beautiful.
I love my hair.
Hair Club offers all proven hair loss solutions backed by our commitment to satisfaction guarantee. If you're not 100% satisfied with the solution you choose, Hair Club will apply the purchase price to another proven hair loss solution or transplant more hair at no charge.
It was the best thing I've ever done.
It looks good on me.
Call in the next 5 minutes to get your free brochure at no obligation. It will tell you everything you need to know about your hair loss problem, and it's free if you call now.
I am more pleased than what I had even imagined.
I at least look, I would say, 5 years younger.
I'm 52, and I look better now than I did when I was in my 40s.
I feel great.
And that's not all. The first 100 people who call will also receive $250 off any hair loss solution from Hair Club. Call now.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you! I hate you!
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And speaking of being with us, I'm back here with my man Sal Rocky Senicola. And Sal, this weekend we got a big fight coming up. Let me rephrase it. This weekend we have Miguel Cotto's last fight. Supposedly his last fight. It's called The Final Fight. And Cotto, clearly, first ballot Hall of Famer when he does finally hang him up. He does say that this is his last fight. He's 37 years old. He has said this before. We were talking yesterday in the chat room, and many of us believe that he will be lured back for another fight because he won't be able to turn down the money that they'll throw at him. But they had their final press. He had his so-called final press conference, meaning because the card is
finale.
Final. Miguel Cotto said, on Saturday, I'm going to be the same Miguel Cotto you've watched for the last 16 years. I'm going to be a warrior inside the ring. I'm going to do my best, as always, for the benefit of my family. Saddam Ali was there, too. He says, I know there's a lot of people saying this might not be a good fight. Everybody can say what they want, but when we get in there Saturday night, you're going to see an amazing fight. First and foremost, Saddam Ali, in my opinion, I'm just going to say this right out of the gate. He's trained by a trainer that I think is awful. Andre Rozier, he trains Danny Jacobs. Maybe what they do in the gym works. I don't know, but from what I see, this guy is not that good, and that's who Saddam Ali's been trained by. So, but when you take a look at Miguel Cotto, there's no question that he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I mean, you go back in his career on his way up, and you start looking at the names on the resume. And I could see us doing a future blast on this guy. You start looking at the names on his resume, and very early on, you start seeing big names. I mean, Carlos Massa in 2003 was undefeated when when Miguel Cotto fought him for a Intercontinental, and this was junior welterweight title, stopped him in the eighth round. Follows that fight against Victorino Socha, which was another good fighter at the time. 37 wins, 3 losses, and a couple of draws. Stops him in 4. Fights Lovemore Nadeau after that for another regional title. Wins a 12-round decision, which sets him up for his first world title shot. And this was against Kelson Pinto, which he was undefeated. The fight was fought in Puerto Rico, and Miguel Cotto won his first world title by stopping Pinto in the 6th round. He follows that with wins. Let me just name the names. All right. Now remember, this is 2004. So you're talking 13 years ago. Randall Bailey, 28-4 at the time. DeMarcus Chop Chop Corley, 29-3 at the time. Ricardo Torres, undefeated at 28-0. Gianluca Branco, 36-1 with a draw. Paulie Malignaggi, 21-0. Carlos Quintana, 23-0. These are all guys that he beat. O.K. Yerkel stopped him in 11. He was 38-3. Zab Judah stopped him in 11, 34-4. This is 10 years ago. Shane Mosley, 10 years ago, 44-4. He finally was derailed because he had picked up the welterweight title. At that point, he had been defending the welterweight title. And after his fight with Alfonso Gomez, he stepped in the ring with Antonio Margarito and was battered and lost his title when they stopped it in the 11th round. This is when I fell in love with Miguel Cotto because he showed extreme heart. We would later find out that Antonio Margarito, prior to his fight against Shane Mosley, had concrete in his gloves, and many people speculate, especially the savageness and condition of Miguel Cotto during that Margarito fight, that he very well may have had loaded gloves for that fight. But Miguel Cotto comes back less than a year later and stops Michael Jennings, who was 34-1, and picks up a world title again and starts another climb, taking on Joshua Clottey, winning a 12-round decision against him in a very close fight, to step in the ring with Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao at his prime in 2009 really issued the worst beating that Miguel Cotto ever got, and ended up stopping him in the 12th round. Does that derail Cotto? No, because he gets back in the ring, less than a year later, now goes for the junior middleweight title, beats Yuri Foreman, wins the title, defends it against Ricardo Mayorga, revenge match against Antonio Margarito, loses to Floyd Mayweather Jr. in a 12-round decision, gets back on his horse after a loss from Austin Trout, beats Delvin Rodriguez, wins the middleweight title from Sergio Martinez, fights Daniel Geale, who was 31-3 at the time, fights Canelo Alvarez, and loses a 12-round decision in 2015. Took a couple of years off, fights again in his last fight of August of this year against Kamagagi, wins another title. Excuse me. And this is where we sit. I mean, to suggest that this guy had a stellar career would be a complete understatement. Miguel Cotto has shown us throughout his whole career that he is nothing less than a warrior. If you don't like Miguel Cotto and you don't like watching him in fights, then you don't like boxing. Miguel Cotto, currently the WBO junior middleweight champion, former junior welterweight, and middleweight champ. He's ranked number 3 in the world as a super middleweight. He's 37 years old, 5'7", 67-inch reach, 41 wins, 33 by knockout, 5 losses in which he was stopped only 2 times against Margarito and Pacquiao, 333 rounds, 72% KO ratio for his 46 fights. He steps in the ring tomorrow night against Saddam Ali. Saddam Ali is 8 years younger. He's ranked at number 25, but in a smaller division. He's in a welterweight. He's got a 2-inch reach. 2-inch height advantage at 5'9", 73-inch reach advantage. His reach is 73 inches, which is a 6-inch reach advantage, which is huge. This guy's got a record of 25-1 with 1 stoppage loss and 14 wins coming by knockout. He's a former world welterweight title challenger. When I look at Saddam Ali, his record, his first 21 fights were against extremely easy opposition. He was 21-0 when he fought, in my opinion, his first tough fight against Luis Carlos Abreu, in which he won via a 9th-round stoppage. He followed that up with all decent fights, Francisco Santana, and then he got his world title shot against Jesse Vargas, in which he was stopped in the 9th round. He got back on his horse and beat Saul Corral, Jorge Silva, and Johan Perez in his last 3 fights. All good wins. Most of his fights have been in the New York area. He is fighting at Madison Square Garden against Miguel Cotto Saturday night. I'm sure there'll be people there for him. How do I see this fight going? I see it going Miguel Cotto's way. I think Miguel Cotto's going to win this fight. I think he's going to knock out Saddam Ali. I think maybe Saddam Ali might stay on his feet for a couple of rounds. But at the end of the day, this is a showcase bon voyage fight for Miguel Cotto, although I do think we'll see him one more time. Miguel Cotto by stoppage. Sal, I know I was long-winded. I just wanted to...
No, I love your long-winded. It's a great scenario.
Well, I just wanted people to understand... that whether you like Miguel Cotto or not, you got to respect him. How do you see the fight itself going?
Bill, you and I are from the same cloth on that level. This is a showcase. This is his supposedly last hurrah, and he's a stellar world champion, a combatant, a warrior. He's done nothing less than give his 100% in his craft, and you got to love his fighting spirit, along with his ability and talent to do and show what he loves to do. And this is going to be a farewell until the next time. But I think that he will stop Ali. I think he'll stop Ali. I think he'll let this go. I don't mean to insinuate let this go, but I think he'll probably do so after the 6th round, maybe around the 6th, between the 6th and 8th round, he will stop this guy.
Yeah, it's about right. It's about right. I hope everybody enjoys that fight and appreciates it because that's really what they're doing here. They're giving him a platform in which he could, presumably leave on his own accord. Leaving as a champion, walking away with a memorable performance. They have the right guy in there for him. But like you always say, Sal, that's why you fight the fights on any given night. And
any given night.
He is 37. He is very substantially older than his opponent, Saddam Ali. And if Saddam Ali can outbox him and steal a victory, I don't see it happening, but it's possible. But
it is possible.
In any event, I do believe Miguel Cotto is a first ballot Hall of Famer. I kind of see him fighting again in a couple of years, maybe against Manny Pacquiao again. Like, it would have to be a big fight, a big name, and big bucks, But these guys are all Asian, man, so it's probably not likely. Hopefully he does hang him up. He's made a lot of money in his career. I don't know what he's making for this fight. I heard a rumor only about $1 million, which is, I say only because this guy has made well beyond that in the past, but it is what it is. He is fighting less than stellar opponents, so we'll see what happens. But good luck to Miguel Cotto, right?
I wish him the best and good luck. And I don't know if this is going to be the very last time we see him in the ring, but I'll tell you what. Let's put our hats off to him. He's had a stellar career. Guy's had over a 15-year professional boxing career. I mean, the longevity, the opportunities, the wars. This guy, I'll tell you what, he's a warrior, and he gives us his heart, his best, and you cannot do anything else but appreciate and respect him.
You can't deny his heart.
No, you can't.
I mean, he's displayed that You see, you know what, Sal? That's what to me, and I know the price. I know it comes at a price, but you know, to me, what I appreciate as a fan when I just put the fan hat on, I appreciate the guys that do that. You know, it seems that in professional sports today, not just in boxing, but you know, NFL sticks out in mind. It's all about the individual now. You know, I was watching even my hapless Jets, and you know, they're one of their top receivers, Robbie Anderson. You know, after making a touchdown catch, he's in the camera saying, "Vote for me for the All-Stars." And one of the commentators got really pissed off at that. And at the time, I didn't really care one way or another, and I still really don't care one way or another. But I tell you what, it definitely paints the picture that the guy is looking out for himself when his team has got 4 wins under their belt for the whole season, you know, and really the problem with individual, you know, looking at individual statistics and stuff like that in team sports when they should be focusing on the team, boxing doesn't allow that. It's you're the guy, you're the only one in there. And, you know, when a fighter decides to challenge himself and take the tough road, and prove that he is what he is, how can you not respect it? And Miguel Cotto has done that throughout his whole career. It would be a travesty if he goes out with a loss, even though it would be great for Saddam Ali and all his fans, but it would be a travesty to have people look at Miguel Cotto in his last fight going down to a guy like Saddam Ali. And I don't mean that, honestly, I know it sounds it, but I don't mean that in any disrespectful manner to Saddam Ali.
No, I know you don't. And like I said, Miguel Cotto fans are looking for that victory as well as Miguel Cotto. And, you know, if he should come up on the opposite end of that victory, then maybe this will not be the last fight, because I think this guy's got to go out on his own terms and with a victory. And it's a calculated risk, as always, but on paper, black and white, he should easily or readily handle Saddam Ali.
Let's hope so. Another fight that's, you know, I love this World Boxing Super Series, and we're getting ready to kick off the next dates. You know, we had our first heat, so to speak. Now what they're billing as the semifinals are taking place January and February, and the first one that we have a date for is in the super middleweight division, and it's putting George Groves against Chris Eubank Jr., which incidentally the WBA world title is on the line, and that's taking place February 17th in England. And just to get you caught up, Callum Smith and Jurgen Brammer are the other two super middleweights. So the two winners of those two fights will fight each other for the championship of the World Boxing Super Series. And in the cruiserweight division, the one that really has some good fights coming up, the semifinals, Yurnir Dorticos against Murat Gassiev. It's a unification bout in the cruiserweight division for the WBA and IBF. And then Alexander Usyk and Marius Briedis, another unification for the other two titles, WBO and WBC. Those two dates and venues have not been announced yet. But the date for the Groves Eubank Jr. fight, which will be taking place on February 17th in England, puts George Groves, who's 27-3 with 20 knockouts, and he's the WBA super middleweight holder, against Chris Eubank Jr., who's the IBO world super middleweight title holder at 26-1 with 20 knockouts. They had their press release the other day, and Chris Eubank said, and I quote, "George seems to be hung up on what I do. He needs to worry about himself. Thinking about me isn't going to get him anywhere. I'm a man of my word. And, George, you will not see the end of the 12th round. He doesn't have the speed. His defense is poor, and his stamina is average at best. The fact that he's lacking in these things means that he won't be able to compete with me. I'm not a stepping stone. I'm Mount Everest, and you're not going to climb me." This is Chris Eubank Jr. talking some smack at the press conference. George Groves says, "It's a semifinal in a tournament that I'm expecting to win, so this is a stepping stone. Another step on the way for me is Chris Eubank Jr. He puts on a facade that he's able to do everything for himself, and he's a one-man band, but it's very difficult doing stuff on your own. So we'll see if he starts to make these changes and adapt. He'll have to. Obviously, this is his first really big fight, definitely at super middleweight, and I believe that he's going to fall short in a lot of categories. I love this matchup, Sal, and I'm looking forward to these semifinals for the World Boxing Super Series. It's been a great thing for the sport, and I hope that Richard Schaefer continues with these and other weight classes. What's your overall thought, real quick?
Well, of course, I love this because it does refine, it does present, and does give us an opportunity to see people vie for a coveted belt or title or recognition, and it shows the cream of the crop trying to rise to the top. And it's a title elimination, it's a fight elimination, and it's a round robin elimination. It's great. I love the foundation of it. I've often wondered why boxing couldn't be structured on some level in a tournament fashion. They have enough belts out there. Let's see maybe the possibility or likelihood or the structure of maybe some types of tournaments every year, and asking either by invitation or by nomination. Let's get some of the top guys to see if we could structure a tournament style boxing tournament. A class of fighters. I don't know. But I love it. I love this opportunity.
Well, this is what Richard Schaefer is doing with the World Boxing Super Series, and what I appreciated the most about it was the simple fact that he picked two divisions that need some shot in the arm, at least here in the States. I mean, because the funny thing is in Europe both those divisions are extremely popular. It's just that here in the States they're not. And just like a lot of other things, the United States is losing ground with the sport of boxing, and I think that what did it for me was the willingness of these fighters, regardless of the belts that they held, to get in the ring and prove that they're the best. Now remember, these guys, especially for this next heat, they're all bringing belts. Every one of them pretty much has a world title that they're bringing into this ring. That one of the guys are leaving the ring without a belt, and that's what happens in the States a lot when you have a world world champion for the United States. They're the ones that never want to fight anybody. They're so afraid to lose their belt, and the networks don't want to put them on if they lose, that they don't challenge themselves. And what we end up with is stagnation. It becomes is that a word? It becomes stagnant, is my point. It's the Sal Rocky Sanicola.
Hey, it's the Slip Mahoney Bible dictionary.
That's the dictionary I use. The Sal Rocky
Sanicola. It's Sal Rocky. We don't forget my word I invented, perpendicular.
Yeah, but the truth is that they have to challenge themselves, and the fighters that do, I respect more than the fighters that don't. I don't know what else to say. What's that? What?
Because now you got me going, and now I'm chiming in. And how many domestic USA fighters are in this tournament?
None. The only
wait a minute.
What a surprise. There was the one. There was the one guy.
There was.
But
there was one.
And he, had a great opportunity, but because he was a sparring partner, he fought like a sparring partner. And you and I both picked him to win, But anyway, we won't revisit that. But what we will revisit is our trivia question. And this has been stumping a lot of people. I've been getting a lot of good answers, and I hope you guys understand when I respond, great answer, but no, it's me being sarcastic, because I'm trying to be fun. It's fun, all right, but it is sarcasm. This is a tough question, and quite honestly, I thought that it would have been. I thought the right answer would have been correct, would have been given to me already, but it has not. If you're the first person to email me the correct answer, Billy at talkinboxing, TalkinBoxing.com, you'll win your very own copy of the mysterious boxing machine, of the Title Bout Championship computer.
That's what it is.
But I know Sal calls it the boxing machine, but But listen, boys and girls, it's just a game. It's a simulation game. But Sal's not up on that. He just got rid of his flip phone.
I think it was invented by H.G. Wells.
Do you have your? That was a great movie. Do you have your car back?
And picking it up this week. The Alfa Romeo's in the garage. No, they called me. They actually called me 3 weeks ago.
I know. They probably said, Sal, come and get this car. It's been in here. It is got the mice moved into it, you know. But you should get that new one. That new Alfa Romeo is nice, man.
I test drove that. Oh my goodness! I test drove, and every time I go down there, I'm test driving all these brand new Alfa Romeos.
I know. That's why they want you to get. They want you to test drive yours home. That's what they want.
Well, no. They finally fixed that. I think they want me to trade it in. I test drove the Alfa Romeo 4C, which was a beautiful sports car. I call it a baby Ferrari. And let me tell you this thing, I took it up there on I-95, and, you know, I was taking it up. The guy's in the passenger seat. I'm driving this thing. It rides so tight. It feels so good. It's a supercar. It's a baby supercar, the Alfa Romeo 4C. I loved it. And, you know, we were going around 95. And I was going 95 because I said, hey, if I get stopped, I'll just tell the police officer I don't understand English. I thought that was a speed limit, 95.
yeah. Just say that the
Excuse me, officer.
Say that the speedometer's in Italian, so you can't, you know.
Absolutely.
And the speedometer is shaped like a pizza, right?
Well, I thought that with the dials, that's the pizza, but the pepperoni's at the distinguishing mark.
The pepperoni is at the 65-mile-an-hour speed limit, right? And then when you add the mushrooms to it, it starts to get to 70, you know. But anyway, the question is back to the question. And I don't know what made me bring up your car. I think I just
because everyone's bringing up my car. They want to see because on the license plate it says Pie Guy, and you know, it was part of my trademark, my Alfa Romeo Spider Veloce 4C, beautiful triple black car. I love it. It's me and synonymous with what I'm about.
Well, the last time I drove in it, I just got rid of the headache from the sound and the exhaust that was leaking in. But that's the side.
It's all fixed, Bill. It's all fixed.
Oh, God. I was like, gee, Sal, I feel like taking a nap. You go, you know, it's funny. Every time I drive this car, I feel tired. Yeah, because you got exhaust coming in here, Sal. You know, that's why you're feeling tired. Crack a window. You're going to kill his mouth, you know. But anyway.
Take the top down.
Anyway, the question is, name the boxer who fought the most. I had to make sure I read the right one. All of a sudden, I was going to go, name the. Oh, wait a minute. That's not it. Name the boxer who fought the most fights from the start of his career before being stopped the first time. Now, this is any kind of stoppage, a TKO, a knockout, or even not being able to continue, but that's not the case. So name the boxer who fought the most fights from the start of his career before being defeated by stoppage. Now, he had lost before, just not by stoppage. All right? And so not only am I looking for the guy's name, I'm looking for how many fights he had before the stoppage loss. It's a tough question, but I have faith that somebody's going to get it over the weekend. And then if you do, you win the Title Bout Championship computer game. And if you just want the game, just visit our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the banner and download yourself a copy. So if you email me the correct answer, Billy at TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com, you win the prize. One more time, name the boxer who fought the most fights from the start of his career before being defeated by stoppage. I want the name, I want the amount of fights, and it's any kind of stoppage, whether it's a TKO or knockout. So good luck to everybody on that one. Hey, Sal, we got Miguel Cotto's last fight Saturday. We'll be watching that. Next week, we do continue our holiday schedule, so we'll keep you posted on that. Also, we will be announcing our next Billy C get-together, where we want you to join myself and Sal to be part of our next filming of the new series that is now on the television dial, Billy C's Boxing Revisited. So I suggest you visit our website, BillyCBoxing.com. All of the television networks that have the show scheduled so far are on the right-hand side. Just click them and find out where you can watch it, what channel, and all that stuff. And watch it, and then drop me an email. Let me know. I know you guys are going to love this new series. Sal and I certainly do. And we're making some improvements, and we want you to be part of it. So make sure you drop me an email to get put on the list. It will be taking place in January, most likely the middle of January, but the location has not been confirmed, but we will hopefully have that for you by Monday. So make sure you drop me an email on that one. But listen, enjoy Miguel Cotto's Fine Garden in New York City. And then make sure you tune in Monday morning, same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'll leave you with this. Ciao, baby.